Good morning. Good morning. So we're, I guess I pulled the trigger a little bit early. I'm just waiting for Robert to give me a call so we could go ahead and continue with part two here. And welcome to You Have a Collect Call From. From what I've been noticing in the last few streams, it seems that these morning streams are working a lot better than the evening. I'm assuming that has to do with congestion on the GTL system. In the daytime, these gentlemen they normally they hold jobs throughout the facility. So or two, if you think about it, people, family members, and loved ones and friends are typically working at this time. So they're able to connect, later on in the evening, which doesn't work out too well right now with the way the system is. Fortunately for me, I am available in the mornings for a few hours, so I'm able to set these interviews up in the early hours, so like that we're able to get a somewhat decent live going or stream. So hopefully he's not having any more issues with this tablet, and we're able to continue with Robert's journey. I know it's been a few weeks since the last time we spoke, but unfortunately, with everything that's happening with the tablets, it's out of our control. Pretty much we're at the mercy of GTL here, if you will. And right now, when we did our first call, just to touch bases and check the quality of the calls, everything was sounding pretty. It was sounding pretty good. I didn't hear any distortion with the audio as far as like losing the connection or sounding robotic and whatnot. Everything was sounding like on a scale, it would be I would have to give it a 10. But let's see what's happening, because it's not reconnecting yet. But anyhow, I guess I'll try to hold my own right here and keep you guys somewhat entertained while we wait for Robert to reconnect. And there he is.
This call is now being recorded.
Tiene una llamada preparada de un individuo encarcelado de la prisión estatal de Centinela, Santana, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. Have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Link.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Robert. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, James. How you doing, man?
I can't complain. I was right here. I kind of shot my shot a little bit too early right now. I pressed the button and I didn't realize it. And next thing I knew, I was live. I was like, man, so I was starting to get worried because I was like, man, we were just talking. The Robert's call's not coming back in. Like, hopefully, like these tablets, they have a meltdown, in those few minutes that from the last time we had spoken.
Oh yeah, you know how it is, man. It's just sometimes it lags a little bit, or for whatever reason, it'll kick us out and then let us back in. But now we're good, man. We're good.
All right, perfect. So I want to go ahead and welcome you back to you have a collect call. And how's everything been over there? Any changes? Anything new happening right there where you're at?
Yeah, man. Well, as I shared last time, I just started the spring semester for college, so dealing with that. I go twice a week. Back to work. We had a whole week off because I had some training going on. Because I don't know if you're aware, but California is adopting the Norwegian style of prisons, and so they got this new thing called the California model, where they're trying to give staff and these correctional officers like education style, like seminars on how to interact with us on a different basis, where they don't refer to us as inmates, we're referred to as residents, just giving them the ability to like interact on a more humane level instead of having that standoffish approach as it's us versus them, green versus blue. So, a lot of training, man. So, like I said, we're down, so the program, wasn't too well. And then, of course, the tablet's messing up and all that. But besides that, man, it's the same day-to-day grind, just trying to stay positive, doing what I need to do to touch them streets again one day.
Yeah, I could, I can definitely relate, wanting to, go hit the streets and, being back with your family and your loved ones. Let me ask you, right now you mentioned the California model, which they're basing it around, the Norwegian way of the prison system out there. What are your thoughts on it, and what are you guys talking about? Are you guys excited about it?
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
What kind of conversations are you guys having about it?
Well, it varies. With me and the community that I surround myself with, which is the programmers, we're open to it. You know what I mean? And our change, our desire to change, you know what I mean? We don't see these officers and these staff members as we used to when we were younger, first coming into the prison system, as it's us against them. You know what I mean? I've come to understand that, they're human like myself, and this is just a job. You know what I mean? They're not the ones that sentenced us and put us in here. We put ourselves in here. And again, that's another thing that it took a lot of us a long time to realize, is that we're not a victim here. You know what I mean? We put ourselves in here. So it's like, it's cool. There's a lot of people, and there's even a lot of officers and staff members that are like, oh, we don't want to interact with them. It's like that, because they're giving them the ability to shake our hands if they want to. Have more meaningful conversations besides just basic like prison questions. Can we do this? Can we go to this cell? Is it okay if I leave early to work? So it's more interaction in a deeper sense. So like I said, for me and the other guys that I usually associate with, we're open to it. We believe it's a good thing because it's, of course, for us in prison that have been down a while, California, the political lines among staff and inmates haven't always been a great relationship. So to feel like, we're going to be given a more humane interaction, it's a plus. But again, like I said, you got studying inmates are like, oh, you know what I mean? Fuck the cops, still, and it's just like, come on, man, like, you know what I mean? It ain't like that. We're here doing time. They come in to do their job and they go home, and it's like no hard feelings, And of course, you got officers who come here and they do want intentionally try to make our time a little bit more difficult than it has to be. But hopefully with new program style, this new training they're getting, to be able to slowly eliminate those bad things.
Man, Robert. So right now, we were at the beginning of the call. The audio was decent, and right now it just the quality seems like it went a bit down. Like towards the end, we weren't able to really make out what your spoken words. I'm not sure if it's happening, on your end, if you're able to hear me clearly. But yeah, it just hopefully it gets better. On your side,
Oh yeah.
on the tablets, does there like a, because I know like for the video visits, there's like a little bar that as far as on my side where I could see, how good the connection is. Do you have anything on your side like that on your tablet that'll show you if the connection is strong or weak?
Well, yeah. I mean, my signal for GTL service is pretty damn near full bars, but we know that we've been having that issue, like you said. I hear you clear, but there will be times, specifically from our end, where like it'll like warp the voice, like my voice will be warped, sort of like a robotic sound, or it'll just cut out, where you can't hear me or I can't hear you for like 3 or 4 seconds or something. But I mean, I think it's just my end because I've understood and heard you clearly this whole time.
Yeah. And you know what? Sorry about getting off topic, but I did have a question in regards to what you were speaking about, where the officers are able to like shake your hands now and whatnot. I think for the officers, I'm sure they have concerns, because there is I think it's on the rule book where it's called over familiarization with inmates or something like that. I'm pretty sure I didn't pronounce it right.
Yeah.
But
over familiarity.
Yeah. There it is. So. There's a rule book. Yeah, I mean that is a rule for the officers. So how are they? It's. I don't think they could do both. They want them to be. They want them to be more sociable with the inmates. But then, like, how do you prevent? Because like if you guys start interacting, well, not you, but just in general, like when people start getting comfortable with each other, then
Yes.
They might feel like it's okay, for an officer to ask them or a free staff, to bring something in. What are your thoughts on situations, that could arise with the new policy changes?
Well, honestly, with that, I think there's going to be a lot of revising of the rules as far as when it comes to familiarity. But I mean, our interactions, even throughout my time when I first started doing time in 2000, there's always been certain types of officers who are willing to engage more than others, and I think a lot of it just goes back to them, what I mean? Maybe at one point in their life, they were involved in the lifestyle, but, they've had the guidance or the change of direction to lead them to the right path. And, I mean, join the department as a corrections officer. So those conversations, what I mean? Like, a lot of times it's more us indulging, like, information that wouldn't be deemed appropriate, but it's like, in a sense, like, from our perspective.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Like sharing things with our past, like, you know what I mean? It's not so much like, oh yeah, when I was out there on the streets, I used to do this, I used to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, we're not getting in depth as far as like details about like crimes or anything like that, but just, like what we used to do. But I think where the over familiarity comes in is that they don't want these officers sharing personal information about themselves, like what area they live, whether or not they're married. And so I think that's where there's like that fine line. But as far as like what they're trying to implement today is like it's okay, like, what I mean, to be able to delve a little bit deeper, like if they see us, what I mean, we're looking down or whatever, that they can ask us, hey man, what's going on? Is everything okay? What are you dealing with? And to be able to, what I mean, relate in a sense without getting into depth. You know what I mean? That's what you're trying to have going on today within the department, where, like I said, it's not so much we're like, fuck it, because they're in blue, we don't give a fuck about what they're going through. Oh, well, that's their shit. they can intervene and, you know what I mean, like give us that little interaction that sometimes, you know, people just need, especially in prison. Like, you know, today's prison world is not so much dog eat dog the way that it was. You know, you have people who have changed and have a heart and just have empathy, man. You know what I mean? That want to see, you know, other people, you know, get through their problems or just lend a helping hand, man. It's like a sense of indirect amends that, you know what I mean, we try to have amongst each other. It's just, you know, we've done so much foul shit in our past, James, that there just comes a time where, you know what I mean, we just want to create positive vibes and do positive shit instead of just always being so negative and so, like, heartless, you know?
And right now, you mentioned, you know, being positive. What percentage of the population do you think would be have the same mindset that you're currently on? That you're trying to, you know, better yourself. You're taking college courses. You're working, and you're participating in these groups. How many of your peers would have that same mindset, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, fortunately on this yard here, it's kind of a small yard. There's a total of maybe 650 inmates on this little yard. Shit, compared to where I come from, man, I've been on high level floors where there's more people, of course. You know what I mean? 1,200 people. And you would have maybe a third of the population then that was actually, you know what I mean, trying to be positive and doing what they need to do to just grow as an individual and be a better man and individual, you know. But here, fortunately, I mean, this is a decent yard. I would say close to 2/3 of the population here is on a positive path, and you know what I mean, trying to figure themselves out and what they want to do and how they want to accomplish it. And you know, you got a lot of individuals here who are willing to, like, you know what I mean, to share their experiences of how they came to want to change and are like showing these guys who don't know but want to do it the right way to the program and what they need to do and how they need to do it. So, you know, so yeah, so like I said, about 2/3 here.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
Man, she just hit us with the 60-second notification. Those 15 minutes surely did. They did fly by. Sometimes, you know, when you get when you're having these conversations, time just flies. It flies by.
It does. It does.
Hopefully, right now.
Good thing you're free now, cause shit, man, I'll be ringing up that line. I'll you up their numbers on their phone, yo.
Hey, you're not lying. I remember in LA County, man. I think the calls like a few years ago, it was like a quarter a minute, and a quarter you're thinking like a quarter ain't that much, but you know, after, you know, being on a phone call for an hour, it's definitely gonna eat up your funds on the GTL funds account.
Serious. I know. I remember my girl, my family, you can only call it one time, like, yeah, getting close to like 10 bucks.
All right, so the call, you know, came to an end. We hit that 15-minute mark, and right now Robert should be calling us back in the next few moments. Hopefully, when this next call connects, the call quality, you know, picks up, and this is one of the reasons that I haven't been doing as well. One of the reasons, yeah. But besides, you know, stuff that's going on in my life, that I kind of slowed down with these calls just because the call quality hasn't been you know, up to par.
This call is now being recorded.
Global usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, do you remember when you were back in county, when people would set up phone lines with people's profiles just to be able to get those get some free collect calls?
Phone?
Yeah, the burner.
Yeah, the burnout. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely remember that. You definitely had to guard your personal information, because if you weren't, they were opening up burnout accounts under your name, and next thing you were in collections if they got you, if you got.
Yeah. Yeah, shit. A lot of us too that were looking at a long time, or you know what I mean, even life. They were just volunteering their profile to just be like, man, fuck it. You know what I mean? We'll set this up, and then trying to make your little change on the side, just offering 3-ways or direct calls and shit. There was even one time, I don't know if I'm pretty sure it was going on in LA County as well, but we used to learn how to rig it to. We would get direct to the operator, and we would claim that we were using an old rotary phone and that it wasn't working, and if they could just direct the call straight across, and we were getting through for free like that.
In LA County, by the time I started going there, I think the first time I went there was in 1999, and by that time you couldn't dial any numbers but the 800 number, or not the 800 number, but the phone number you were gonna call. Like, it wouldn't let you deviate from that call, and if you pressed any buttons during that call, it would automatically drop your call. But I do remember back in '97, I was in the glass house up there in Van Nuys, and back then in the glass house there were Pacific Bell phones, and you could call 800 numbers, and during that time we used to we were coming up on prepaid calling cards, and we had numbers memorized. So I remember one time when I had and I wasn't even 18 at that time. I had lied about my age. I was at the 97. I was I think I was like 16, and I had lied. I told them I picked up a case for commercial burglary, and I lied about my age. And I told them I was 18, so I ended up hitting the Van Nuys glass house. And when I got there, I was messing with the phones, and sure enough, you could make 800. You could dial up to 800 numbers, and luckily I had like that information from that calling card memorized. And I called home. I called my mom. I told her I was going to be coming home for the next few days, but I didn't tell her why. Yeah. And unfortunately for us, I think it was like February, so I think it was like I think it was Martin Luther King's birthday, so we got picked up on a Friday, and we didn't end up, our court date wasn't gonna be till like Tuesday, because the long holiday. But fortunately for me, I think within like 2-3 days they ended up finding out that I had lied about my age. They ended up pulling me out of the tank, and they ended up driving me home. So my buddy wasn't too fortunate. He ended up, he had already done that before. He had given up like a fake name and a fake date of birth, and they ended up taking him to Silver Juvenile Hall. Went to drop him off really quick. I told him, hey, later, see you around. And he ended up catching a camp his first camp program, and then I ended up catching a camp program, but mine was a little bit delayed. As he was coming home, he came home in August, and I ended up, I saw him like one time, and then I ended up, going down, my journey in my first camp program. But yeah, that's what I recall. But the payphones up in the glass house.
Yeah, man.
So,
yeah, just thinking back, man, it's crazy.
Yeah. So last time, our last phone call, part one of your interview, you had mentioned that you had picked up a robbery case. Do you want to go ahead and gloss over that, and then your journey into county jail?
Yeah, so like I said, when I caught this first prison term, me and a couple of the fellas that I was hanging around with, we were in the scene, and one of my eventual co-defendants had hooked up a marijuana deal that I was facilitating for somebody else that I hung around with. And so they pulled the old bait and switch, and so after we found out that they pulled the okie doke on us. After that, it was looking for them, and the guy that hooked up the transaction, he came to find out that they were hanging out in a motel room. So me and a couple of the homies, we went over there. We confronted them. As I've stated, our intentions weren't to just go ahead and rob them. We just wanted them to either give us the money back or to give us what we thought we had coming. And of course, it didn't work out that way. So, we end up laying them down. We take a couple things from them. We get away. Well, I guess they ended up calling the police right after we committed this robbery. And so, a day goes by, we think everything's cool, not knowing that, these guys went and called the cops on us. Of course, we thought they weren't going to call the cops. They're not society's favorite guys themselves. So, so I guess we're waiting. One of my co-defendants, he's going to hook up with some girls, and he's supposed to bring them over. And the night that we're supposed to hook up with these chicks, they come and swoop him up. And, we were communicating through the pager. So I guess they traced the number to the house that I was hanging out at. And so once they figured out, they got the location down, they went and surrounded the house. And so when I decided to take off after we couldn't get a hold of the co-defendant, I decided to take off and go home, and they're right there waiting on me. So as soon as they see me backing out of the driveway, they hit their lights, they rush me, pull me out the car. So we're going to the county jail. I go through the processing. It's a long ass processing. You gotta go through medical. Well, first and foremost,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Because the guys were saying that there was a firearm involved, you have to go through what the police department considers GSR testing. And what GSR is an acronym for gunshot residue. So what you do is they confiscate all your clothes and they put you in a paper jumpsuit. And you get taken down to the police department, and you get, they test your hands and your clothing for to see if you fired a gun recently. So after that was completed, then you go through your basic processing. So when I go to arraignment, they hit me with the charges, and they're trying to say that 4 counts, because there was four guys that we robbed. So they hit us with 4 counts of first-degree robbery, 4 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and I think false imprisonment. And so we're going through the motions. Of course, when you first come into the system, you're not aware of how the system works. They're always going to try to scare you and throw the maximum amount of time on there. At one point they tried to say that they were going to pursue home invasion robbery, but they couldn't prove that fact, because you have to be, if you're staying in a motel room, you got to be staying in that motel room more than 72 hours for it to be considered a place of residence. So being that they were there only overnight, we got off on that. So long story short, I end up copping to a plea agreement to where they drop the false imprisonment, and they hit us with 4 counts of robbery, 4 counts of first-degree robbery, with an enhancement of use of a firearm. Now, keep in mind, the firearm was never recovered, James. So, You know what I mean? I was like, how are they going to charge me with a gun if there was never no gun recovered and there was no evidence of me firing a firearm? But you know what I mean? With these victims just claiming that a firearm was involved, that's as good as gold in the criminal system. So, you know what I mean? I'm in the county jail, you know, not knowing what's going on, and so I'm listening to all these other guys who are supposed to be, you know, veteranos or whatever, and these little jailhouse lawyers. So, you know, they're trying to be like, hey, youngster, you know what I mean? They're trying to railroad you, you know what I mean? They can't do that. So, you know, me like a dumbass kid, you know what I mean? I'm listening to them, so I try to withdraw the plea agreement that I took. Well, the judge wasn't going for it, so I ended up getting stuck with the 4 counts of robbery, with the allegation of personal use of a firearm, and I ended up getting sentenced to 7 years at 85% with a strike, and got sent to prison at 19 years young.
Man, that's young. Getting, catching
Yeah.
a case. I would consider that to be a pretty serious case, for that age.
Of course.
And prior to you, committing this crime,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
did you ever, anticipate going to prison? Did you want to go to prison?
No, I mean, you know what I mean? When you're in that lifestyle, man, again, you know, especially as a young buck, you know, everybody thinks, you know, like that old saying goes, oh, I'm the gingerbread, you can't catch me. You know what I mean? And it's just, you know, it goes back to the criminal thinking, man. You know what I mean? It's just like we use in one of our groups called, you know what I mean, CGA, which stands for Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous. There's a thing called the OCP. It's obsession, compulsion, progression. And it's just like, you know, when you're in the lifestyle and you start out committing crimes, it's little things. And you start, okay, if I could do this little, it just gradually escalates to bigger and bigger things and more brazen types of conduct. And so, I mean, like I said, you know what I mean? I was fortunate to the point where in all the little bullshit nonsense that I was doing as a juvenile, you know, there really was never no consequences. And of course, I didn't get caught for a lot of the shit that I was doing. And for the brief times that I did get caught, like I said, you know what I mean? I should have went to juvenile hall, but I got lucky, you know, for petty theft. Like, you know, I took us back to the Mervyn's days, you know? Like you said, a lot of people don't know about that Mervyn.
Yeah.
You know, so me trying to steal that wallet at Mervyn's, you know, and like I said, I got lucky there, you know, spray painting the fucking police department like a dumbass in the old neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thinking that we're gonna get away with that. And you know, again, as when I turned 18, I caught another a petty theft, you know what I mean? Trying to steal some gear at the local TJ Maxx in Ross. And so of course, you know what I mean, getting away with that, you know, you always think about just, okay, well, I'm getting away with all this shit. I can start doing bigger and better shit. And, you know, of course, man, you know, nobody ever wants to come to prison, but the individuals that I had in my life who were older homies or, you know what I mean, even...
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
Man, that 60 seconds again is quick.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? They would, like, you know, pump me up to be like, look, man, you're young. They're not going to do nothing to you if you get busted. So it had me in a warped mind state, like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe they know. Like, okay, I'm a juvenile. I have no record. Even if I do get popped, there's not going to be no consequences. You know? So, yeah, man, shit. Like I said, I've never thought of coming to prison, and I never really thought of getting caught because, like I said, I was getting away with so much shit that, you know what I mean? You think you're smarter than the average person, and, you know, your criminal conduct just keeps on going up and escalating, man, and fucking, you know, even my dad and my grandfather, unfortunately, man, I'm the fucking the third, I guess you could say, the third generation of coming to the pen. My grandfather's been in the pen. My dad's been in the pen.
All right, so we hit that that 15-minute mark. You know, crept up on us again, and I keep on forgetting. I do have this timer up here. I should start putting up here so I could keep better track of the minutes left on these calls. And I just saw Cynthia's message, and I'll go ahead and read it off to him, to your son, once he he reconnects, and hopefully it doesn't take that long. This call that we were just on, the call quality was really good. Hopefully the next call that reconnects, stays on the same path, and we're able to maintain that good audio quality.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello, Robert.
Yeah, back in it, man.
All right. So just want to go ahead and read off some of the messages here that we got. So we got Goombastic 562 saludos tapping in from the 9 to 5 get down. So he's listening to us from work. And we also got
That's right.
LBCK15. He types saludos, James. And then we also have your mom, Cynthia. She puts, hey, mijo, God bless, love you.
All right. Yeah, thanks to everybody for tapping in and listening, man. I appreciate, the support, not just for James, but, just hearing our stories, man. So thank you.
Oh, man, you're welcome. I have been thinking about this for years, and finally, I was able to set something up and have gentlemen like you, come on and share your stories. And I think it's huge. It's these are stories that I think are important and should be shared. Like for yourself, or like you just mentioned, in your juvenile days, you kind of felt, invincible, and you thought nothing was going to happen to you. You kept on, progressively, getting worse with crimes. And on your first case as an adult, it didn't work out too good. And you were, I think for that age, 18, 19, getting 7 years, that's a pretty lengthy, prison sentence.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was, man.
When you took that deal for 7 years, how long did they give you to think about it before you actually, had to take the deal? Was it just that one day that your attorney came in?
No. Well, I mean, I was in the county jail fighting that case for close to a year. So, of course, like I said earlier, they're trying to hit you with the max. So I think my max was like 27, 29 years. But I mean, that was only going to occur if I took it to trial and ended up losing on all charges, which is like slim to none, So, like I said, they kept on trying to come with plea bargains. Of course, they started with the max. Then they try to drop it down, and they hit the 20s, the teens. And then finally, when they seen I wasn't budging, that's when the judge was the one that, he called a conference with my attorney and the district attorney and was like, look, man, this shit's dragging on too long, Either we're going to go to trial or we're going to offer this guy a reasonable deal. And in the judge's mind, his idea of reasonable was a 6 to 8 year sentence. And so he said, if I take this deal, they'll drop the other charges that I said, which was the possession or assault with a semi-automatic firearm and the false imprisonment charges, and just have me offer me to plead guilty to the 4 counts of first-degree robbery with the enhancement of a personal use of a firearm. So, you know what I mean? Of course, you know, when you're threatened with that time, you're thinking, damn, of course, you know, to a youngster, to anybody that's never done time, 6 to 8 years, that's a lifetime, you know? And so I was like, well, fuck it, you know what I mean? It's better than doing in 15 to 29 like they were threatening me with. So I agreed to sign the plea agreement. And when I came back to sentencing, you know what I mean, we fought for it because, again, it was 6 to 8 years, so it could have been 6, 7, or 8. And my attorney, you know what I mean, was telling the judge, like, come on, man, like, this guy deserves less, in a sense, like, because he has no criminal record. But, you know, like you even stated, you know what I mean, that's a serious crime to start off with. And so the judge even reiterated that by telling me, well, you know, yes, you know, you lack a criminal history. You've never been incarcerated, but Mr. Gallardo, you know, you chose.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
You chose to step into the criminal world in a huge way. So, you know what I mean? He said, he felt I deserved the mid of 6 to 8 years, which was 7. So they gave me 4 years, which was the mid term for the robberies, and 3 years for the low term of the enhancement, because the enhancement carried 3, 4, and 10. So in a way, I mean, looking back, you know what I mean, I was fortunate because he could have gave me the high on each of them, and there could have been more time, you know.
And let me ask you, during your, you know, during the time that you were going to these court hearings, were the victims showing up to court? Had they made any statements in open court?
Well, the victims, they decided to come to, which is called a preliminary hearing, which is like basically the pre-trial phase. And the victims got up on there and they stated to the court on record that they didn't want to testify, that they didn't want to, you know what I mean, participate in the hearing, but that they were threatened, that the district attorney and San Diego Police Department threatened them with a bench warrant and that they were going to get arrested if they didn't comply. So during this time at this preliminary hearing, where, you know, it's an opportunity for us to cross-examine these witnesses and all that, like, you know, we try to go for impeachment because some of these individuals, you know what I mean, they had a minor arrest history as well, but never really done time themselves. But so, you know, we tried to impeach them on just, you know, not being credible witnesses due to the fact that they acknowledged that they were involved in a drug deal, that this was a drug deal gone bad. But, you know what I mean, it didn't work out in our favor, and, you know what I mean, the judge decided that there was enough evidence to bound it over for trial, and then, you know, we proceeded forward after that.
So once you take your deal, how long does it take for you to, you know, hit your first institution?
So usually when you decide to take a deal, well, you'll sign your plea agreement, and then these are what they call, fuck, man, it's been so long since I've been through the process. I fucking, status conference hearings. And so there's just like in between, you know, you got your arraignment, then you got your little conference days where you come to figure out, okay, what we're going to do, if we're going to go through with the preliminary hearing, which is, like I said, the stage prior to actually going to a jury trial. And then, you know, you got your little motions, the file motions, shit like that. So it was during that I decided to take the plea agreement. And then after you sign your plea agreement, it usually takes anywhere from, because after you sign your plea agreement, you got to go through a probation hearing. So a probation officer comes and sees you, they interview you, and then they make a recommendation to the court as if the time that's being offered on the plea agreement is enough, and usually they suggest you do more. So so you got to go through your probation hearing, and then anywhere between 30 days to the most a month, you come back for sentencing. And then after you get sentenced, it usually takes anywhere from a week to a month max, and you get transferred to CDC reception center.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And so, while you're waiting, I'm sure, the other inmates or the veteranos are letting you know how it's going to be in prison, how prison is a lot better, and you got canteen, and you get to roam around, and, they just make it seem like it's the greatest place to be. Yeah, county sucks, because you're stuck in that, either the dorm room or those 6-man cells or whatever type of cells, they got going over there. So they definitely paint a pretty picture talking about how great prison is compared to county jail. Was what you envisioned, when you were in county jail or prison, was it like that once you step foot in prison?
Oh, never, of course. You know what I mean? My idea of prison was all the war dogs that I was being told. And like I stated before, my grandfather and my father have both been in prison, so they used to tell me stories of how it used to be back in the days. And keeping it 100. I mean, my idea of prison was what you've seen in the movies. My idea of prison was the American Me and fucking blood in, blood out style. Like it's just madness, you know what I mean? And really what it wasn't, but like you said too, you had all these dudes that were preparing me, hey youngster, when you get there, it's gonna be like this, it's gonna be like that. But when you think back on it, man, shit, again, what I mean, being real, man, I was scared as hell. I didn't know what to expect. And thinking about to all the violence and all the things that I would become to be involved with once I hit prison was nothing to the little county jail riots and the little seeing the disciplinary and the politics and how you gotta be cool with the dudes you're out there on the streets gangbanging with. Like, okay, now like on the streets, dude, we're out here killing each other, but now in here, because we're under different politics and regulations, that we got to be sellies, we got to be cool, we got to have each other's back. So of course that was a shock as well, because in the county jail, I had almost got regulated a few times because I seen enemies, and I'm already willing to get off and handle business on site with these dudes who were from the other side of town. And then, you know what I mean, though, hey, dude, we don't do that. Like, you don't get down like that in the county jail. Like, you know what I mean? That's a camarada. Like, you know what I mean? We're all sureños, whatever. So you can't be fighting each other, So, yeah, man, it's just nothing the way I envisioned it.
Right. Like, yeah, man, that definitely, leaves you scratching your head. So, prior to hitting county jail, you didn't know that you couldn't fight with your enemies in county jail?
Nah.
Man.
No.
Oh yeah, definitely a shocker. Leaves you, like I said, leaves you scratching your head. But I mean, the rules are the rules, right? If you definitely don't want to test the waters when it comes to things like that, because it could have definitely turned into a really ugly situation, and they would have taken pleasure on a regulation, because a lot of people are frustrated.
Oh,
they're frustrated and they're waiting for for that person to make that first mistake, and when they do, it's you know, hopefully you learn from it. If not, then it's gonna be definitely a bumpy road.
Yeah, well, you know, shit, like I've heard too, not just in San Diego, but I mean, like in other areas too. It's like, you know, when you got to get that little calientada, it's like a lot of times, man, it's your enemies that they're gonna send, like that they want to be the ones, like, yeah, you know what I mean. Let us discipline this guy, you know. So it's like you got to think about, like, damn, like.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
And they're gonna make it look like it's all based on politics, you know what I mean? You fucked up, so you got to get this little chequeada real quick, you know?
Yeah, you know what? I do remember a story like that. I remember there was this dude from, I think he was from 38th Street, and the dudes from Florence had that dorm, and at that time they had a policy where you couldn't catch any calentadas. So they were making him work out like nonstop, and then when he couldn't work out, when his body couldn't take it anymore, they just stomped him out for not obeying the you know, the rule infraction. Kind of sucked, you know. It was, you know, it kind of sucks, you know, when you have certain neighborhoods that are deep in certain units, and you know, good luck if you're not in good standings with that particular neighborhood.
Exactly.
All bad. All right, so we hit that 15 minute mark, and right now we should be on our I think, what is it gonna be, our fourth phone call, and you know, I really appreciate, you know, the call quality. It's really A1 right now, and hopefully, you know, it stays like that. And I guess I you know, this is probably one of the better times to be able to, you know, do these interviews and have these gentlemen, you know, share their journeys. And you know, I did have here we go, Saved by the Bell.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
so once you what prison was the first prison that you what reception center did you go to once you got shipped to?
Oh, well, back then it was still Donovan.
Oh, okay, so it was just right there. Then you were just, you know, up the street pretty much.
Yeah, just right across the street. Shit.
And you get there. What is it? How long did it take for the administration to designate you to your permanent housing unit or prison?
Well, I was on reception for maybe like 3 months at the most, and then I got shipped. My first prison was right here in Centinela.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
you got a history with Centinela then.
Man, dude, like it's like I tell people and shit, I share this story, and I'm like, man, you know, I'm fucking ashamed to say this, but this is my fucking third time in Centinela. You know? It's fucking, they're like, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, dude, fucking, I don't know what it is about this place, but it seems like I can't shake it, you know?
And what year was this again?
That 2000.
2000.
When I
okay.
caught this first term, but I ended up getting to I got to Centinela like in early 2002.
And so when you're reception, they're assessing you, right? And then they're because you know, obviously, you know, they determine, you know, what level of prison you're gonna end up based on your on
Yes.
the point system they had back then and before. that point
Yes.
system was
Yes.
definitely vicious. They definitely
Yes, it
tilted
was.
tilted the scales not in your favor, especially if you were a youthful
Yeah.
offender. And I remember they would have all kinds of little tricks. Like they would tell you, like, hey, when you go up to reception, tell him that you graduated high school, that you're married, that
Mhm.
you got kids, and
Yeah.
those are the three that I remember. I'm pretty sure there was some other
Esta
ones.
llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And the reason they would advise you, to tell the administration that would be to lower your points a little bit, and hopefully, you wouldn't end up in
Mhm.
level 3 or level 4. So, do you remember
Yep.
what level were you were categorized once
I
they sent
I
you to
started off
Centinela?
level 4.
Level 4.
Yeah, I started off level 4. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
borderline. I was borderline, so I didn't even have to spend a full year on a level 4 right here until I got transferred to a 3-year.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you dropped points within
Yeah.
less than a year. And how was your
Yeah.
experience? The first time that you went to Centinela, what was the atmosphere at that time, or early 2000s? It was still, prison was still, I think, prison, California prison.
Yeah. Yeah, so of course. So I mean, in reception, you know what I mean, I got a little bit better schooling of you know what I mean, the rules and expectations of prison.
Three-way llamada.
And so, of course, coming from reception center, you're not interacting with everybody from different areas. It was all mostly San Diego right there. We had a few guys, of course, because from the Imperial Valley, they used to get transferred down there for reception. Sometimes Orange County and a few from Lowell would trickle in. So, you know what I mean? For the most part, you were just surrounded by homies from San Diego. And so when you get to when I got to Centinela, you started noticing, like, okay, well, you got the LA Ranfla here, you got, what I mean, the IE Ranfla, the San Diego, so on and so forth, and just really coming to understand, you know what I mean, and the politics involved, and you know what I mean, being in a southern prison compared to up north, you know what I mean, it's still somewhat set tripping in a sense of, like, from what area you're from. And just to see the way the shit functions, you know what I mean, having to participate in shit that, you know what I mean, even though you may not have wanted to, it was a given. Like, okay, well, you can't say no. Like, you're gonna do it, and if not, that's gonna be your ass. So, yeah, way different.
And for our listeners that are not familiar with the term ranfla, ranfla
Mhm.
translates into English as car, and it's the equivalent to
Yeah.
saying a group. So they normally break themselves up into groups by area. So there would be like the Los Angeles group of people, so people that were residents
Yeah.
of the Los Angeles area, and then there would be the residents of the Inland Empire, which would be the IE. So they would break themselves up. They were part of the same group, but they break up into subsections to people within their local area, and then there would be uh, certain issues within those groups for whatever reasons. And yeah, so pretty much that's what ranfla means. If you're like probably like, what's a ranfla, that's what it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Hell yeah.
like, during this time, this was CDC without the R, so you weren't getting any
Mhm.
rehabilitation at this time. What were you doing with your time,
Nothing.
in prison at this time?
Shit, man. Just, you know what I mean, participating. You know what I mean, being a what they would call a soldier for the cause, and you know what I mean, just fucking up, dude. Like, you know what I mean, willing to be on the front line for any issues that arise. Getting high. You know what I mean, and just, being on yard when there was yard, and just like I said, man, just always in warrior mode, like, just any little thing, man, you got to be on your toes. You got to be ready to handle business, So if it wasn't, you know what I mean, like I said, in warrior mode, it was under the influence of something. Fucking, you know what I mean, hoping you get a job, because if not, man, you're A2B. And what A2B means is you're in prison, you ain't got no job, so you're not afforded all the privileges that come with having an assignment. Because back then, like you said, James, you know what I mean, there was no rehabilitation in California Department of Corrections. It was all disciplinary, you know what I mean. So just being able to come out to the rec yard to get some air and work out was like a privilege, because I mean they were doing any little thing to keep us locked down, to keep us confined to that cell. And so, yeah, man, that's what it was about.
And I remember on our first interview, you had mentioned that you had kids, and I think you had a girlfriend. I'm not sure if she was your wife, but during this time, are you in contact with your family, your mom, your dad, brothers, sisters, or anybody? Is anybody communicating with you, coming to visit you, while you're in prison?
Oh, well, I mean, at first in the county jail, yeah, you know what I mean, the girlfriend, the baby mamas. You know what I mean? Certain family. When I came to prison, the communication was always there, but I really wasn't getting visits in like the first year or two. And but I mean, the communication was there, and then as I've stated, I mean, I grew up in a dysfunctional family, so I mean, I went through the foster care system for a bit, group homes, and so my relationship with my mom and dad wasn't as great. And during that first term, that's when my mom had changed her lifestyle, and started becoming sober. And you know what I mean, me and her, we regained that relationship.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
While I was in the pen on that first term here. So, me and my mom, we got down, and of course, all my resentments and my questions that I had, you know what I mean? It was behind a prison fence, man, in that visiting room that, we were able to hash out those differences, and you know what I mean? Fortunately, I was able to let go of those resentments. And of course, I mean, you're never gonna forget them, right? I mean, I lived them. I've been through that struggle. I've been, through those many heartaches. But you know what I mean. When I was finally adult enough and man enough to address them and get answers, you know what I mean. And at times, you know what I mean, it wasn't really the answers that I wanted to hear. But I mean, we came to have that understanding, and and today, you know what I mean, me and my mom, that's mom's, man. That's like my best friend, and and all that came to fruition behind these walls.
You know what? And right now that you're speaking about your mom, I think that's when people are behind bars, normally your biggest supporter is going to be your if you're fortunate to have one, then your mom.
Your mom.
Like,
yeah. It is.
All the people that you're running in the streets with, you'll be lucky, if you get a letter or two, or if they even accept your collect calls. And that's something that people should think about, before getting themselves into situations like this, because if you don't have a mom, you're not gonna have a strong support system, when it comes to
Exactly.
and you need things, while you're in prison. If you go at it alone, you're not gonna you're gonna miss out on a lot of things that you're gonna see some other people are having. So definitely, if you're going down this route, you definitely you want to make sure you know what you're signing up for. You're gonna be hard timing it if you don't have your mom on your side or your corner, or even your dad. I'm sure we have a few dads in there sprinkled in that are definitely the rock for their kids that are incarcerated.
Right. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you said, I mean you hit the nail on the head, man. Like, that's one thing that I've come to learn with my kids, and just, you know what I mean, having the relationship with my mom that I do is just like, that's the true definition of unconditional love, man, is your mom's love. Like, you know what I mean? No matter all the shit that I put myself through, and you know what I mean, people talking shit or talking down on me, it's like, you know what I mean, no matter what, man, my mom has my back, and I know that, And like I said, it's she can't, you know what I mean, I don't expect her to overlook everything that I've done wrong in my life, but it's just like, I mean, she's never, you know what I mean, cast judgment. And you know what I mean, she, like I said, man, she's rocked with me, you know what I mean, through the ups and downs. And that's one thing I implement in my relationship with my kids today. It's just, you know what I mean, I made a lot of the same mistakes that my mom and dad did, being a young parent, teenage parent, and not taking that responsibility serious, man. And so, being that my kids are adults today, and you know what I mean, my youngest, I have no relationship with her because of her mother. Her mother keeps her away. But you know what I mean, my middle, my oldest, I mean, I wish the relationship could be a lot better, but I'm grateful to have a relationship. And I know, you know what I mean, despite, you know what I mean, them maybe not taking the time to really, you know what I mean, go out of their way to come and see me when I feel I should have that visit. But like I said, man, it's just an unconditional love. I love them regardless. And, you know what I mean, I got their backs.
Yeah, yeah.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
Man, these 15 minutes are definitely they're definitely flying by today, man. I definitely didn't even feel like it.
Yeah, they
This
are.
last call was 15 minutes, and for today,
No, no.
I don't have like we could run this like another hour or whatever you're comfortable with. I know
Mhm.
it's been quite some time since the last time we spoke, so definitely wanna get your journey and out here, um,
Yeah,
especially
let's
since
roll, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. If you.
especially since the weather conditions are good right now. Because if it starts raining, who knows how or the wind starts blowing the wrong direction. You just never know with
Exactly.
GTL.
Like they say, man. Exactly. You got to get it while it's good.
and right now when you call back right now, your mom just typed up a message, and I definitely have to read this to you. All right, so right now, Cynthia, I just saw your message. When he calls back right now, I'll go ahead and read it off to him and let him know the words that you have for him here. Anyhow, right now we're on that quick little break in between calls, and as soon as he calls back, then we'll go ahead and get into his first time in the California Department of Corrections, and how much time. He was originally sentenced to 7 years. At that time, you were doing 85% of the time, so I would assume it was like 5 years and some change. What happened and what transpired once he completed that sentence.
Esta es Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
This call is now being recorded.
Hello. So
Yeah.
so your mom just she wrote a message here, and she wanted me to read it off to you, and she says please let him know I just gave him what was never given to me. I always love him, good, bad, ugly, my best thing in life.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Like I said, you know what I mean. That's moms, man. Like I said, just that's that's my ride or die.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I mean, your mom is, 9 out of 10 times, she's gonna be in your corner. She's gonna always gonna
Mhm.
be your biggest supporter, and I'm sure
Yeah.
uh when visiting days come, that visiting room is probably filled 50%, with moms, and then another, maybe like another 45 to 50% of wives and girlfriends, and so if it's not
Yeah.
your mom, it's gonna be your wife or your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
the females are always gonna outnumber the males in those visiting rooms, and those
Oh
would
yeah,
be
of
males
course.
that are coming in from the free world, not from the gentlemen that are currently incarcerated there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So your first time in prison, how much time did you end up doing, and how would you categorize your prison experience at that time?
Well, out of the seven, I did 6 years straight. Um, how it was, you know what I mean? Thinking back, man, fucking, like I said, I mean, it was reckless and it was fun. It was fun. Like it it went faster than I thought it would, and but again, you know what I mean? It taught me a lesson, but it didn't. If that makes sense, you see what I'm saying? Like it just emboldened me in a sense to like this ain't nothing. Like if need be, I could do it again, and fucking I mean, it has its ups and downs. I mean, the little lockdowns the whole time, but I mean, yeah, I had to get checked one time. You know what I mean? Just for fucking, you know what I mean, fighting with one of the other homies, and but you know what I mean. I took my little lickings real quick, came back. You know what I mean? It was a lesson learned. It was an experience to learn by, and but yeah, like I said, man, looking back, man, it didn't have the effect that it should have had. You know, like that should have been. For most people that come to prison, you know what I mean. They're fortunate to just, you know what I mean, get sentenced to that one term and be like, fuck, I learned my lesson. You know what I mean? But I mean, keeping it all the way 1,000, that wasn't the case for me. Like, of course, you know what I mean. When you get out and you experience prison, you nobody wants to come back. But at the same time, like I said, if it makes sense, it was like, okay, it's not as bad as they make it out to seem. You know what I mean? Maybe you may not want to come back for the same amount of time, but if you came back, it wasn't going to be nothing.
Man, so and that is so you finish up your prison sentence, and in your mindset, if you got to come back, then you could do the time again.
Mhm. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, it just that's that warped mind thinking, and then of course, it's just being involved in the gang lifestyle, man. You come in, and despite all that other shit I talked about, like I said, when you come, you were shown love, like you were accepted amongst your peers, like you know what I mean. You had what little you needed to survive. So in a sense like that, like doing time, like you know what I mean. You think, oh well, you ain't gonna have shit now, like you know what I mean. The homies, they would look out. If you didn't have a TV, you had a TV. If you didn't have clothes, you know what I mean. You were given the little necessities. You know what I mean. As far as being able to wash your ass right, you were given soap. You know what I mean. Deodorant, toothpaste. So like that's why back then, like I said, you know what I mean. In that mind frame, like, oh fuck, if I have to come back, you know what I mean. Whether I got somebody in my corner or not, I'll be all right.
That's right.
So
Yeah, when you would get there, they would definitely, they would embrace you, ask you if you needed anything, you needed some shower shoes, soap, or whatnot. They would have that kitty ready. And what the kitty was is everybody would pitch in, or anybody that had money on their books and commissary, they would buy items and they would donate them to the kitty. So when people would come in, they wouldn't go out with with the bare minimum. You obviously hygiene is really big in these institutions, whether it's a county jail, prisons, and whatnot. They definitely don't want you to be smelling bad. It's not a good look, and it's and if you're not clean, that's how diseases normally spread in these places. So you definitely don't want to catch anything like MRSA or any skin infections. Things like that will definitely spread like wildfire in there. So
yeah, this is like, I mean, you can't be representing walking around smelling like an onion or some dirt, because that'll get hands put on you.
Yeah. Hey, first thing in the morning when you get up, you definitely want to brush your grill, because if not, you're gonna they're gonna talk to you.
Slay that dragon, man. You gotta slay that dragon. For real. It's just like, man, I mean, how much disrespectful could that be? I mean, imagine just, living in your bathroom with another grown-ass man.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. Three-way llamada.
We all know about that morning breath, so it's just, imagine just, first thing in the morning, you're trying to have a conversation, and it's just like, damn, like, what the fuck? Like, go ahead and take care of that, dude. Like, go get that out the way. Like, that should be the first thing before you even open your mouth. Go slay that grill.
And during this time, were you required to do like any type of exercising and participate in building up your body? Also, were
oh yeah,
when you hit prison during this during that time, were they still allowed to smoke?
Oh yeah, man. Like, like, again, this is just me reflecting. This is not me, glorifying anything. But yeah, man, I came into prison at a time when, it was like the end stages of having weights. At certain prisons there were still weights around, free weights. Of course, we were still able to smoke back then. Your family was able to send you in your personal packages, which to me were more meaningful instead of going through these vendors that we're allowed to these days, because, the first and foremost, the financial burden on our families, if we're fortunate to have it, is ridiculous, man, paying these prices. And of course the economy today, it's hard for everybody out there. But your family used to be able to send you, your 30-pound package. And, so like, mom's was working at Walmart, so, she was getting that discount, or shit, even going to the 99-cent store and just hooking up a box, man. It was a lot more financially reasonable. Of course, there was tobacco, boombox radios, and all that today, man, that's just gone. Like, we're allowed these little tiny handheld radios. We can't even have speakers. Everything we got to listen to off your earphones or your earbuds. There's no more smoking. So, I can understand the health hazards today, but shit, back then, if you are a smoker, being able to have that frajo, it was like a stress and tension reliever in a sense. But yeah, when you're first coming through the prison, it's mandatory workout. When you're at yard, it's mando, you get at least an hour a day, especially in the hole. If you're an ad seg, you're back there for putting in work. It's mandatory workout every day. You got to sound off. You got to represent loud and proud that you're on the tier, you're working out, and that you're not just there with your celly, you're representing for the whole for the whole team that's back there with you, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, when you're first coming in, for somebody that on the streets that is not used to working out, man, that's one of the fucking one of the biggest things to get used to is, you know what I mean, being told that you got to do this, you got to do that, you know.
And right now, you definitely took me back by calling a cigarette a frajo. Man, I was like, man, I almost short circuited right now hearing frajo. But that's
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
yeah. So for those of you that are not familiar with that term today, you're definitely picking up two new words. It'll be frajo and then ranfla. So you know, write that down and like that you don't forget. I should definitely you know, type these words on the descriptions of videos if anybody needs to, you know, figure out what these words mean, and it'll probably make it easier for them to keep up with these certain words that they might not be accustomed to.
Nah, you know, man, and that's true because it was like sometimes I talk to dudes today, and they're like, man, well, like, what the fuck? Like, what does that mean? And I'm just like, dude, like, I still got that old school slang. I got that old school pinto talk sometimes, so you just gotta, you know what I mean? If you need clarification, I tend to forget, man. You know, some of these people that might be tuning in, like, damn, like, what the fuck is he talking about? So, you know, I'll try to be more mindful of that and clarify it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, like right now, we got one of our listeners. She's actually tuning in from London, the UK. So, you know, she's British. So, you know, a lot of these, you know, California terms or Spanish terms, you know, she might not be familiar with. So that's why that's one of the reasons I do, you know, you know, I got him a way to you know, to clarify that. And she actually just put a message on the chat right now. She put a pen and paper at the ready, so she stays ready.
That's right, hey, man. Shit, all the way in London. Hey, thank you for tuning in, man. That's cool. You know what I mean? It's reaching people on the other side of the world. You know, that's what's up, man. That's the whole goal.
Yeah, hey, she's gonna be out there in London talking about, hey, shoot me the frajo, and they be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? What's up?
You'll be like, shit, I'm hanging out here with my ranfla.
Yeah,
you know, shit, I'm in London. She gonna be posting on social media. I'm in London with my ranfla right here, smoking frajos. You know.
Hey, you know, and that's the cool thing about this, you know, like, you know, we're here, you know, I'm in the comfort of my home, you know. Unfortunately, you know, I mean, you're in the comfort of your prison cell, but and then, you know, we're able to, you know, connect and touch with, you know, with people, you know, all over the place, you know, if they're able to, you know, somehow come across the stream, you know, the possibilities are endless, you know, the people that we could, you know, we could you know, touch, and, you know, you could share your journey with.
Of course. Yeah, you know, that's why too, man, when I was, you know what I mean, when I was spoken to of this opportunity, and then, you know what I mean, being directed to you and you reached out, you know, that's why I was so eager to want to participate, man, because like I say, you know, I'm at the point in my life where, you know, with this wisdom and maturity, I'm trying.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
You know, I've spread so much negativity and, you know what I mean, cause flaw in my character, man, that, you know what I mean, everything that I do, I try to do for the right reasons, and, you know what I mean, just to give back, man, any way I can, whether big or small. And then, of course, you know what I mean, just to, you know, show that us here in prison, man, you know what I mean, we're not only defined by our worst mistakes. We can change. We are worthy of change, and, you know what I mean, just to have that different perspective given, and to see that there actually is, you know what I mean, good people in here that just made a mistake, you know.
Hey, you know what? And how long did it take you to, you know, to change the way you thought, and what made you change the way that you were thinking before?
Well, you know what I mean. It's shit. Let me start by saying, you know, it's not.
All right. So, you know, I did that question I did throw out there just to give him a few moments to think about it in between the time that the call disconnects and we reconnect. And definitely, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing his answer to my question. So I guess we'll just be here. waiting. And if Leisman happens to tap in, I'm definitely making progress with my setup over here. Last night I was mounting some stuff on the wall, and I still need to set up my router and my Wi-Fi access point right now. I got it all over the floor right now.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you remember the last question I just asked you before we disconnected?
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? To be honest, James, I mean, change is not easy in here. You know what I mean? And it's just, at one time in my life, and there's still a lot of individuals today, we're so self-conscious of what the next man is going to think of us. And so change is not easy because you don't want to be perceived or looked upon as weak in prison in this environment. You know what I mean? Because, you know what I mean? There's some people who thrive on vulnerability. You know what I mean? So, and of course, and it's just like you really stand out when you decide to change because you got a lot of individuals. And again, that's not the case on this yard. You know what I mean? We're the people that are programming and trying to change their life are the majority here in this yard. But in other prisons, we're the minority as far as people, you know what I mean, trying to change their life and their ways and just do them and not having to worry about being perceived as weak or scary just because they're taking the opportunity to better themselves and, you know what I mean, get back to their family sooner. Now, for me, you know what I mean, of course, you know what I mean, being so far away from home, like I was in Kern Valley State Prison for 10 years, and that's up there, for those that don't know, that's up there in Central California, in Delano, California. So, you know what I mean, being away from my family and just really understanding the impact. And again, me gaining the wisdom to understand that I'm not a victim here. Like I said earlier, you know what I mean? I put myself here. My actions got me here, not nobody else. But I was so fast, you know what I mean, placed to try to make people feel sorry for me because, oh, I'm in prison. You don't know what I'm going through. I got to deal with this. But like I said, just understanding the impact that my choice has on my family and those I love and I care for. And, you know what I mean? Me, by trying to abide by the code of prison conduct and politics, man, that, you know what I mean? That exceeded my family. That exceeded my kids. You know what I mean? Like the false sense of security that prison politics and the gang lifestyle have upon you. That you know what I mean? You choose that. And it was just coming to realization, man, that's wrong. That, you know what I mean? Like, not only am I suffering by being farther away from my family or being stuck in the hole, you know what I mean? And, you know, like one time, you know what I mean, I could recall where one of the rare times that one of my brothers actually came to see me, you know what I mean? I was in the hole for an assault. And, you know what I mean? He would tell my mom, like, man, I don't want to go see my brother. And, you know what I mean? She was like, why? And she goes, you know, because I'm tired of seeing my brother caged up like a fucking animal, chained up and shit. And you know what I mean, James? That shit hit me. And you know what I mean? And it had me questioning, like, damn, like, is that how my family perceives me? Like, I'm chained down like a fucking animal, you know? And So again, man, it's just like with faith, man. You know what I mean? Like they say, you know what I mean? You just need that little seed to be implanted in your head, and then you really start to question your lifestyle and your decisions. And what really pushed me to the point where, like, you know what, I got to start doing something, man, was the recent law change in 2016 when they came out with Prop 57.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And for those listeners who may not be familiar with California law, California has a law called Proposition 57, which was passed and on a ballot where it incentivized our rehabilitation in prison, to where the more self-help groups that you attend, you get time knocked off for vocational trades, for education purposes, whether obtaining your GED. Like now there's an incentive for, if you get your GED in prison, you're entitled to 6 months off your sentence. If you're involved in college courses, for every course you take, you know what I mean, it could take a week to 2 weeks off your sentence. Completing your vocational trade, you could get up to 3 months off your sentence. So everything's incentivized. But it also gave us, like myself, like I've stated, I was sentenced under California's 3 strikes law. Now, in a sense, 3 strikers in California are considered political prisoners, because it's like, you know, we're bound to this law. And it's just like, I mean, there's guys with murder sentences who are eligible for consideration of parole sooner than us 3 strikers, because it's a different law, it's a different time spec. So, like on the 3 strikes law, you're mandated to do 25 years before you're even considered eligible for parole. Where on like a murder, you know what I mean, you could be eligible after 7, 15 years, you know? So when that came in, dude, like that gave me the opportunity to become eligible for parole sooner than I originally was. Under my current sentence, I wasn't eligible for parole until 2041. And when Prop 57 kicked in, it bumped me all the way up to 2019 that I was eligible for parole consideration. So, you know what I mean? That right there alone, man, like, damn, like, I've been fucking up all this long, and now these laws change, and I could miss an opportunity. You know what I mean? So that's when I really started, of course. And that just planted the seed. I'm not saying, like, you know what I mean, that was it, because I was still fucking up. I was still doing the things that I shouldn't have been doing. And, you know what I mean? And even to this day, you know what I mean? I still got my gray areas. You know what I mean? I still struggle with shit that, you know what I mean, could possibly lead me to fucking minds off. But it's just like now I'm a lot more self-disciplined and you know what I mean, forward thinking of what I need to do and what I need to accomplish. And it's just like, you know what I mean, if I was willing to make them sacrifices before, where it's like, okay, you know what I mean, if it's go time, it's go time. If we got to jump off in a ride or we got to participate in this, well, now I'm making sacrifices to better myself, to ensure that I'm going to propel myself to getting out one day. You know what I mean? Because the opportunity's here, man. It's just the point of taking advantage of it, you know? So it's just, man, just a whole change in perspective, James, man. That's what it took for me, you know?
And right now, you said that you became eligible for parole 2019. So you became
Yes.
Eligible to parole 6 years ago.
Yes.
So man. So my question would be, man, like, well, what's happened? You know, like you know, you became eligible 6 years ago. How come you're not home yet?
Okay, so when Prop 57 kicked in, what it did was that it changed the certain serious, what were considered serious or violent felonies, to non-serious or non-violent felonies. So like for my current case, I was struck out on a domestic violence case. Okay, so back in 2008 when I caught this case, it was considered a violent act, a serious felony. But under California law today, it's considered a non-serious and a non-violent. Even though it's serious and violent in its nature because it's the domestic violence, you know what I mean? Let's not take that away. But as far as the severity of the time frame that it takes to be sentenced, it's not serious in that sort of nature. So just because I said
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
that I was eligible in 2019 didn't necessarily mean that I was going to go, because when they started doing all the revising of criteria as far as what makes you eligible and non-eligible, it was still a waiting process. So I ended up being eligible for parole after the revising of the law and the criteria and then being able to sort out the qualifications, actually 2021. So at that time, in California, when you're going up for parole, you want to have a minimum of 5 years clean. I wasn't at that mark yet as far as to my rehabilitation. And so I took the route of postponing my hearing, not only because I didn't have the 5 years clean that is like a basic minimum, but also because my parole plans weren't set. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was scrambling. I didn't have the necessary like transitional housing arrangements set up. I didn't have my parole plans in order as far as like my parole plans, like what I plan to do. And it's like, that's a process alone. And being able to provide to the parole board, like, look, this is my plan and this is how I'm going to execute it. You know what I mean? And it has to be precise, James. It's like, you know what I mean? You gotta be able to present these plans with 100% realization that in your time frames that you're making these plans, that it can actually be accomplished. Because anybody could say, you know what, I'm going to get out today and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. But it don't happen. And that's just reality. And thinking back, that was my problem too. It's just like, you know what I mean? I wasn't preparing for life on the streets after I got out of prison because I wasn't setting myself up to obtain goals, to accomplish goals. You know what I mean? To take advantage of resources the way that I see it today. And so I ended up going in 2022. Let me backtrack, sorry. So while I was in Kern Valley State Prison, that's a level 4 180 maximum security prison. And so being that I was already making the transition and I was staying out of trouble, even though I wasn't at that 5-year mark, but I was participating in self-help groups and doing what I needed to do, it was advised that because I'm on a super maximum security prison, that the parole board frowns upon it. Like, okay, well, yes, you know what I mean? You're trying, you've been taking the necessary steps to be found suitable, but yet you're still on the highest level of security within a California prison. So in a sense, that's like a reason for them to deny you parole. You know, so what I did was I voluntarily waived my parole hearing to be postponed for a year. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to level out, which means I wanted to be able to be transferred to a lower level security prison, which I am now. I'm a level 3. Well, actually, as of today, I'm a level 2, but I'm on an override on a level 3 prison. And so it bettered my chances. And then, of course, it was, even though there was a lot of self-help opportunities provided on this maximum security prison, there were certain things that, you know what I mean, just, you know, safety and security of the institution wasn't deemed appropriate to have on that type of yard. So it was beneficial for me to
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
be transferred to a lower level security prison where more and better opportunities were available to show my growth and my participation. And so that's when I decided to get transferred here to Centinela. And I went in December of 2022 to my first parole hearing, and unfortunately they found me unsuitable for, they denied me 3 years. So, you know what I mean? I'm taking their suggestions that they recommended for me to continue pursuing. You know what I mean? Thank God that I've been clean now going on almost 7 years. So, you know what I mean? Just me, you know what I mean? Taking it serious and doing everything that I could do, like I said, you know what I mean? To be positive and to be.
All right. So once again, we reached that 15-minute mark. He should be calling us back shortly, and when he does, we'll go ahead and continue with his journey. Right now, we kind of jumped a little bit ahead, you know, and he was sharing, you know, when he made that choice to change and, you know, eventually, you know, come home. But we'll go ahead and go back to when he paroled on his first prison sentence and kind of go down through his journey. I think this would be his second time in prison, if I'm correct, but I'll double check.
Esta es
This call
Global
is now being
Talent.
recorded.
Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de un individuo encarcelado de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Talent.
Hello.
Yes.
All right. So you were speaking about 2020 and them denying you for 3 years, giving you a 3-year denial.
Yes, in December of 2022.
And
yeah, so like, go ahead.
well, I was gonna ask. So, do you have to wait the 3 years, or can you I guess is it petition or request earlier parole date?
Yes, well, of course, you could petition. Sometimes if they want to, they could do their own little like a checkup to see how you're programming. But it's like with me, I could petition, but it's like I know, like, even though when I went, I felt confident. I felt that the chances of me being found suitable were realistic. But when I went in there and actually experienced the whole operation of going in front of a parole board, I seen that my overwhelmingness, the overwhelmingness of it, the anxiety, that I didn't answer questions that were being asked of me with insight the way that I should have. So that exposed that I need more work. And of course, it's hard to take that on the chin, because you know what I mean. It's like, you know what I mean. I could use the example, a perfect example for me that I use when I talk about that experience, James, is like, you know what I mean. If you're in faith and you believe, it's like Judgment Day, like going in front of God. And
esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And just accounting for your life. You know what I mean? Because those people have my freedom in their hands. They have that power to be like, no, we're going to keep you condemned in prison, or we're going to grant you your freedom and let you be a free man again. So try to comprehend that level of anxiety and just stress, and just like like me, sometimes I have trouble of when I'm put on the spot, like the words don't come faster than my thoughts, and so I'll start stuttering, or I'll have long briefs of like just quietness, and like I said, I got it in my head, but it's just not coming out. But again, it was a experience that let me know that I need to sharpen in these specific areas. And so I want to complete, there's a couple things that the board recommended that I take that, fortunately my mom was able to take care of for me. I had to pay for certain courses to take, and so I'm going to take advantage of that. And then, of course, just being able to continue my education and take advantage of just more self-help groups. And that, I think, is going to be beneficial. So when I do go back, I just have more on my plate to offer and reason for them to find me suitable and see that, I have changed my ways, I have changed my thinking, and I have everything in my favor to prove to them that I'm taking it serious. Hello?
Hello. Sorry, I had you. I had you on mute. I was over here talking, and I wasn't talking to anybody.
Oh.
But
Okay.
Man, I forgot what I was saying. But I wanted to I want to go ahead and take you back to when you originally paroled on your first on your first case.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
you end up going home. What you get out of prison? Are you you're still on parole when you get out? Like, are you checking up with your parole officer?
Yes.
What kind of things are you doing? Do you have a job? Are you in contact with your kids, your family? What's going on during that time when you come out? And what year did you get out? What was it, like 2005, 2006?
No, so I paroled from Ironwood State Prison in January 13th of 2007. So I'm back out. When I get out, a friend, somebody that I met who was from San Diego as well, he had paroled a couple months before me, and he came to pick me up along with his girlfriend, and they picked me up from Ironwood State Prison, so we go back to San Diego. My mom throws me a welcome home party. And of course, everybody was there. My mom, her husband, my brother. I got to meet my niece and my nephew for the first time. Both my kids were there. So it was a good experience after being away so long. And of course, I was given a 3-year parole period. And of course, me being fresh out, I'm in compliance. Like I said, I was in no rush to go back, and I didn't want to go back, but so I'm living with my mom, and I was fortunate to get reacquainted with a guy who was actually supposed to be a part of the crew that went and did the robbery. Well, this guy, it might have been fate. He decided to go to the movies with his girlfriend that night instead of going and committing the robbery with us, my friend Christian. And so when we got busted, James, like, this was an eye-opener for this dude. And this dude, like, stopped hanging around with the fellas, and got his shit together. And so he became a San Diego paramedic, and then eventually became a San Diego firefighter. So I got reacquainted with him. I reached out to him, and he came over, we hung out. He introduced me to his new daughter, and he offered me a job. And this job was with his battalion chief. He had his own business. And so he got me 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks max after I paroled. I had a full-time job working as a cabinet maker. And at that time I was making $12 an hour fresh out of prison, which in 2007 was kind of good, making $12 an hour. I was working 4 10s, and you know what I mean, just doing it. I was complying with parole, you know what I mean, checking in monthly. You know, my parole officer would come to the house. You know what I mean? So like I said, I was in compliance. I was being a father to my kids. You know what I mean? Providing, helping their mothers out financially. You know what I mean? Co-parenting. You know what I mean? On the weekends of when I was off, I would have my kids. You know, just living life, man. You know, and then I ended up eventually meeting my youngest daughter's mom, and so you know what I mean. Of course, you know what I mean. I'm still interacting with the fellas in the neighborhood, and one of my good friends at the time. You know what I mean. He was like my ace deuce, and he was working full time too. He had paroled a lot while before me, so we're already taking a risk because back then, I mean, that's a condition of parole. You're not supposed to be associating with other gang members or specifically other people who are on parole supervision as well. So, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Understanding it, but again, not really taking it serious. That was like a no-no. I'm still chilling with this dude, and you know, so fucking we start, you know what I mean, partying on the weekends, man. You know what I mean? We start using, and you know, we're fucking around with that meth, and of course, man, just for anybody, you know what I mean, who shared addiction, you know what I mean. You can't control drugs the way that you think you can. And for us, I mean, it was working in our favor in the beginning where, you know, we were only, you know what I mean, indulging on the weekends, on our days off. And come Monday, you know, functioning drug addicts were back to the grind, back to working. And then, you know what I mean, it didn't take long before that shit started to consume us. And, you know what I mean, we resorted back to, you know what I mean, committing crimes because we ended up losing our jobs. You know what I mean? I'm calling into work, and you know what I mean, just because I want to be stuck, you know what I mean, on the streets or in the motel room with my old lady. You know what I mean? So now I'm out of a job. I'm having to resort back to hustling. You know what I mean? Just to make ends meet, to provide for not only us, but I mean my kids. You know what I mean? Help them with what they need. And yeah, so I was out, let me see, 9 months. Yeah, I paroled January of '07. I was out almost 10 months. And like I said, I mean, by the summer, I was already, like, starting to fall off, how I just mentioned with the drug use and having to resort back to, you know what I mean, hustling and doing the stupid shit. And so after a while, like towards the end, like around August or September, me and my mom, we had gotten into a little argument, and I had moved out the house, and she had called my parole officer to inform him that I wasn't staying at the house anymore. And so I fucked up too, and I should have informed him that I was no longer staying at my mom's house, and informed him of my new residence, which I really didn't have a residence because, you know what I mean, me and my girlfriend at the time, we were just motel hopping or staying with my brother a couple of days here and there or whatever. And so little did I know, I had a PAL warrant, which is an acronym for parolee at large. And so during all this that's going on, I come to find out that my girlfriend at the time, she was pregnant. And so I tried to start, you know what I mean, stop using and get back on the grind, and was out there looking for a job and trying to clean up my shit. But of course, you know what I mean, because I was without a job, I mean, I have skills, James, so it's like, you know what I mean, I was doing little side jobs as far as like, you know what I mean, helping people work on their cars, like, you know what I mean, I was doing minor shit like brakes, helping people do oil changes, you know what I mean, little shit like that, and then, but I was still having to hustle, you know what I mean, so I was, you know what I mean, boosting, stealing cars, breaking into cars, and, I ended up getting busted at the mall down there in San Diego. And it was kind of funny when I reflect on it because I got caught in my own sting. I was breaking into so many cars.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I was breaking into so many cars in a specific mall that they set up a sting. And so this day I'm at the mall and I'm in my girlfriend's car. She's at work, and I'm rolling around trying to actually looking for a job, but you know what I mean, like a dumbass committing crimes at the same time. And so I start casing cars, and these undercovers, you know what I mean, they're casing me, and they see me attempting to break into cars, and so you know I end up catching another prison term /
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
For attempted vehicle theft and possession of burglary tools. So I ended up getting busted in October of 2007. And like I said, it was a new term, but because there were misdemeanor crimes for, you know what I mean, attempted illegal entering of a car and possession of burglary tools, which consisted of me having shaved keys to get into cars. It was a misdemeanor, so I was given an 8-month sentence. And so I went back to prison for 8 months and got out. You know what I mean? My girlfriend, you know what I mean, she had gave birth to our daughter in February of 2008. And I paroled May 30th.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so it's that time of the stream where we get disconnected, but he should be calling us back shortly, and he typically calls back relatively quickly, so you shouldn't have to wait much longer for us to reconnect, and he could continue with his journey. And for those of you that are not familiar with shaved keys, they are utilized, or he was utilizing them to be able to get into cars. I think I would say like it was either like Hondas and Toyotas that made it easy to circumvent their locks with shaved keys. And I know even I think for the Toyotas, the older style Toyota Camrys, I think they even a lot of them had the same key, so you don't even have to shave them. You could just, as long as you had the key, you could either open the doors and turn on the vehicles. I know that was huge back in the mid 90s, I would say, where keys were pretty much being recycled, and you could if you had one key for one, you had a key for all of them, and you could just have your way with those models of cars. I know they would the streets are talking about those keys and the vehicles you could get in. So LA was an interesting place, back in the mid 90s, when I was in my teen years. It was like the Wild Wild West, pretty much do whatever you want, kind of like what the way it is right now, but I think it's a little bit worse now, or at least the media portrays it to be.
Esta es Global
This call is
Calling.
now being
Usted
recorded.
tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right, so the mic's all yours, and you continue wherever you left off.
Yeah, so like I said, you know what I mean? I ended up paroling May 31st of 2008, and you know, got to meet my my newborn daughter, who was about 3 months now. And so during this time, fucking while I'm doing this violation, my kid's mom, I guess, she had a kid with another guy, and but they weren't together, and he ended up getting out before I did. And so while I'm away, you know what I mean, you know, it was kind of causing a rift because, you know what I mean, I was thinking, okay, this guy's going to come home, of course. You know, he's going to try to get back with her and this and that. So, you know, she was denying it at first, and, you know, but it was just continuing to cause arguments amongst us. And so when I get out, like I said, you know, she comes and she sees me the same day that I get out. You know, she brings me my daughter. And it's just like, you know, when we were gone, I mean, when I was gone, we never like broached the topic, of course, like it's over between us or nothing like that. So I'm assuming, like, you know what I mean, when I come home, you know what I mean, we're just going to resume the relationship. And, of course, you know what I mean, she just had my daughter, so whatever. So, of course, that first day I'm starting to notice, like, a little distance from her as far as, like, our interaction. And so, you know what I mean, I'm trying to, you know, question her, like, hey, you know, so what's going on? Like, you know, what's good between us? And she's just like, you know, oh, well, you know, let's just give it time. We're going to work on it. We're going to see what happens now that you're back out, whatever. So, of course, me, you know what I mean? I got a little insecurity on my part. I know this dude's back around, and, you know what I mean? Like I said, before her, I had 2 other babies' moms. So, you know what I mean? I was aware, like, you know what I mean? Like, when I was away, you know what I mean? My baby mamas, you know what I mean? Of course, they had their other little relationships or whatever, but, you know, when I came home, you know, they cleaned house. And, you know what I mean? So it was just like, you know, I was the one back in the picture. So, of course, me having that experience, it was stroking my insecurity. And so I'm asking, like, you know, what's going on with him? Like, oh, nothing. You know, he's just, you know, trying to be a father to his son, which was cool, you know. And but like I said, you know, so it's just, you know, creating tension between me and her. And so 9 days in, so let me backtrack. I was only out a total of 9 days during this time when I paroled in May 31st of 08. And you know, so during this time, you know what I mean, we resume our relationship romantically. And then I come to find out that, I guess, you know what I mean, she's trying to play both ends. And you know what I mean, she's telling me one thing, she's telling him another. And so one day, you know what I mean, we're at the beach, and I'm noticing that my daughter is she's sick. And so I confront her, and I'm like,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
why is my daughter sick? You know what I mean? She has a cold. Like, she was like unbathed. You know what I mean? She was looking kind of dirty. And so, like, I'm confronting her, like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, it seems like, you know what I mean, you're neglecting my daughter, and like, what's going on? So of course, you know what I mean, she felt offended, and you know, she slapped me, and me in my reaction, I ended up slapping her back. And so you know what I mean, that caused a scene. So she took me back to my kid's mom's house where I was staying at with my oldest daughter's mother. And when she attempted to drop me off, me and her kind of got into a tug of war over my young daughter, or our newborn, because I was like, look, you know what I mean? I was seeing that my daughter was sick. She was unbathed. And so I was like, look, you know what I mean? I'm going to keep her for a couple of days. I'm going to take care of her because, I mean, I felt she was neglecting my daughter because she was, you know what I mean, over there, I guess, you know what I mean, playing house with her son's father as well. And so later on that night, after this, she drops me off after our little incident. Me and her other child's dad, we ended up talking. And you know what I mean? We just like, hey, well, you know, what's up with her? And well, she's telling me this. Well, she's over here telling me this. And you know, so she's telling him that she didn't want me around my daughter, that she don't want to be in a relationship with me, but she's over here telling me the same thing about him. So the next day, man, you know what I mean? She tells me she's gonna come pick up my daughter, and I'm like, nah, you know what I mean? You could come see her if you want to, and I'm like, matter of fact, I'm like, you could bring her, you know what I mean, some more clothes and a couple extra diapers to hold me over for the time that I have my daughter in my possession, and so she comes over, dude, and like, I mean, you know, my emotions got the best of me, my insecurities and my ego, and me and her, we ended up getting into an argument, and I confronted her about, you know what I mean, what her son's dad is telling me, and she's denying it, and you know what I mean, I lost my cool and I placed my hands on her, and I ended up choking her to unconsciousness. And then she takes me to go pick up my daughter from school, and she leaves to work. And you know, when she arrives at work late, you know what I mean, her supervisor starts questioning her, and of course, you know, she's distraught. You know what I mean, she's crying, and you know what I mean, she explains the whole situation with her supervisor about how I assaulted her, and her supervisor called the cops on me, and I was arrested later on that night for the assault on her. And during that time, I had escaped from the back of the police car, and so I was on the run for about a day and a half, 2 days, and then the place that I was hiding out at, I was going to take off. I was going to go out of state, and the place where I was hiding out on, it was my oldest daughter's mom's aunt's house, and she reported me. She turned me in for the reward, and so they arrested me again, and then yeah, that's how I caught this case. And like I said, I ended up receiving 34 years to life for the domestic violence case, which they labeled a corporal injury to a spouse and assault, a basic assault with a deadly weapon. And they struck me out and gave me a 34 years to life sentence.
And let me ask you, so when you were on the run, did you realize what type of time you were looking at for that pending case, and how did they strike you out? Because I know on your first case you had mentioned that the deal that you took, or the plea agreement, you took one strike. So in order, like, I'm thinking baseball. So in order for you to get struck out on baseball, you gotta have 3 strikes. So far,
exactly.
I only counted one. How do we go from 1 to 3?
Okay. So let me go on. So it's a very good question, and this is how dirty the justice system is. So again, now when I took my first,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I took the deal, as we recall, for the 4 counts of first-degree robbery and with a strike. Now, when I caught my second one, which was for the attempted vehicle burglary and the tools, that was misdemeanor, so that don't necessarily count as anything. Now, when I was arrested the first time for this current case that I'm incarcerated on now, which was the assault on my child's mother, when I was arrested, what led to me to escaping from the back of the police car was they had told me that I was being arrested for attempted murder. And so I guess that was going to be their initial, because I choked her to unconsciousness, that they were going to charge me with attempted murder. And so that right there, that was like, there's no way I'm go down for an attempted murder charge. So that's what eventually led to my escape. Now, when I'm on the run, of course, I'm thinking that they're going to try to hit me with the attempted murder charge. But in all actuality, they weren't. But for whatever reason, that's what San Diego Police Department stated to me that I was being arrested for. So, like I said, when I'm on the run, I'm tempted to get the hell out of Dodge because, like I said, they're trying to hit me with an attempted murder. And so when I get busted, it wasn't the case. So as I'm fighting the case, you know what I mean? They come to tell me that, that they're pursuing the 3 strikes law. And I'm like, how are you guys pursuing the 3 strikes law when in all actuality, this should only be my second felony conviction? But they're like, no, under California law, because you have because you signed a plea bargain for 4 counts of robbery, those constitute 4 strikes under the California 3 strikes law. And I'm also, so you're trying to say that you struck me out on my first prison term? Right? Like, how does that work? Like, okay, so you gave me 4 strikes. And I'm like, no, I signed a plea agreement for a strike. And they're like, no, your priors constitute 4 strikeable offenses. And back then, this case was considered a violent felony. And so it triggered them to use my priors as strikeable offenses, and which enabled them to use the 3 strikes law against me. Now, when I'm fighting this, even my appellate attorney, because I went all the way to the California Supreme Court on my appeals, and it kept on getting shot down that it was okay, but my appellate attorney was adamant. She was like, Robert, they fucked you over. You know what I mean? They're doing you dirty. Like, in all actuality, like, not to minimize or justify my actions that day against my child's mother, because I was wrong. I shouldn't have done what I did. The most time that any of these offenses carries is 4 years. Okay, so if I was convicted today of these same charges, I wouldn't have been given a life sentence. My max time doubled up as a prior strike criminal. My max would have been 17 years. But I was given a 34 years to life sentence.
So
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
on this case, did you took it all the way to court, to the jury, right, to the box? You didn't plead out on this one?
Yes,
right?
I had to. No, I had to. Yeah, because it was it was a life sentence no matter the way around. So yes, I had to take it all the way to a jury trial.
Man, that's you like you said, you committed an offense and you inflicted injury onto another person. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you would have not, you know, had the strike, the maximum would have been 7 years. So 7 years to 30 something years. That's a huge discrepancy right there.
Yes, yes, yes. And so now let me be mindful of this again. This is my first ever uh, domestic violence case. I don't have no priors of this and nothing. So
All right. So you guys already know the routine. But man, it just goes to show, you know, you know when you know when you're out here and you're, you know, committing crimes, you're hurting other people, you're not thinking about the consequences. I'm sure, you know, he wasn't thinking about um getting a life sentence and getting you know, struck out, you know, because in his mind, you know, he had originally only signed for one one strike for that robbery case that he had committed a few years before.
This call is now
Esta
being
es
recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm just gonna give you the heads up for today. After this call is over, then it'll be that'll conclude our session for the day.
Sounds good.
But
Sounds good.
But you know, going back to your case, you know, you know, you took it to the jury, and the jury you know, found you guilty. What was going through your mind, you know, when you got found guilty, and ultimately, you know, when the judge, you know, you went through the sentencing phase?
Well, again, you know what I mean. I wasn't taking full responsibility, James. Like, you know what I mean. I was still playing the victim role. Well, you know what I mean. Oh, poor me. Like, you know what I mean. And in a sense, like trying to justify my actions. Now, this is something that I wanted to reiterate to the listeners out there, especially our female listeners, is that in no way do I attempt to invoke pity upon myself for my sentence. I was wrong. I should have never placed my hands on my child's mother. And you know what I mean? That's one of the regrets that I deal with daily. And you know what I mean? One of the things that I could say is one of the worst mistakes that I've ever made, and I'm not proud of. I'm very ashamed of it. You know, it's hard. It's hard to talk about because of the shame that I feel, and only because I have daughters, and I would never want my daughters to be placed in an abusive relationship, and especially where you know, I mean, somebody that said that they love them, or that
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
would place their hands on them. And but it's like, you know what I mean, it was devastating. It was devastating. I felt, you know what I mean, first and foremost, yes, I should be incarcerated. I should do time for my actions, but a life sentence is unwarranted. You know, it's it was excessive. But like I said, you know what I mean, I wasn't taking full responsibility for it. So, you know what I mean, in a sense, it was like, you know what I mean, my jealousy, my ego, my insecurities as a man, you know what I mean, that was taking the forefront compared to my actions of that day, and just, like I said, they're gonna strike me out because it's like, and again, it was minimization. You know what I mean? I wasn't looking at the effect that my actions had upon my child's mom. You know what I mean? What I put her through. You know what I mean? Psychologically, emotionally, from my assault that day. And but yeah, I mean, when I got sentenced, man, like, you know what I mean? That was even in my statement. You know what I mean? And my request to be sentenced as a second striker, the way that I should have. And and you know what I mean, and that goes another flaw in our justice system as well. Is it's like, you know, there's supposed to be unbiased an unbiased opinion as far as when these judges and these prosecutors are hearing these cases. But I mean, in all actuality, there is a bias, and even though the statements in my case were in my favor, that I should have warranted a life sentence, I believe, and even my appellate attorneys believe, that my judge was biased towards me as far as in his decision making, that he didn't want to enact his power to change the sentencing like he could have. You know what I mean? And I think it was evident in his statements that he made that he was biased towards me, which is understandable. You know what I mean? Because maybe, you know, he could have possibly grown up in a domestic violence home, or had a loved one or somebody close to him that was a victim of domestic violence as well. And so, you know, maybe hearing my case might have triggered something in him where, you know what I mean, he wasn't going to invoke pity on somebody that he felt was undeserving of it. And so, but yeah, man, shit, when I was given this sentence, man, I was depressed. You know what I mean? There was even, you know, brief moments of, you know what I mean, possibly taking myself out, you know. And then, again, man, it's just shame, pity, regret, of course. You know what I mean? And just playing the victim role. Like, this wasn't my fault. Like, it was her fault, too. Like I said, man, just, it was bad.
And what were the prison lawyers telling you? You know, what you should what were they saying that you should have, you know, brought up in court? Because everybody, you know, has, you know, their 2 cents to throw in, and I'm pretty sure they were, you know, getting in your ear, telling you, you know, how they're doing you wrong and they're railroading you, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's like, we like to use the term in here, like, you know, people's opinions are like an asshole. Everybody has one. You know, like, you got a lot of people giving advice on situations that they haven't incurred themselves. It's just they've been around people who have gone through the same thing, but every set of criteria doesn't fit every person that's facing these circumstances. You know, so of course, you know what I mean? I had learned a lot over the time, like, not to be taking these prison lawyers or these so-called testimony experts inside the system to any really face value. But it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, I argue with my attorneys, you know what I mean, and explain to them, and you know what I mean? We filed many motions, but that's another thing that in the future I feel that, you know what I mean, California voters need to be addressed, is that in the 3 strikes law, there's so much language in that law that contradicts the powers that a judge, like the discretion that these judges and these prosecutors have. Like, it contradicts itself in so much, and that's how they're able to get around, like, sentencing people to these outrageous sentences that more than likely don't deserve it. And that's one thing that I share with my family and even other people in here. Like, it's sad because, again, if I was sentenced today for this same crime, I would not have gotten the same sentence as I did back in 2008. And it's like there's nothing currently that would help me in pursuing, like, you know what I mean, motion into the court for resentencing or nothing. It's just like there's nothing that's retroactive, any laws that would help my cause, unless the three strikes law is totally abolished or revised.
So in the last few years, you know, they've been focusing on gun laws, murder sentences and whatnot. So it's kind of, I find that, you know, kind of strange that that they wouldn't focus on three strikers, because like yourself and many others, you know, I remember there was like a famous a news story of an individual that stole the slice of pizza or something. I'm not sure how true it is and the exact facts of the story, but
no, it is true. Yes.
And you know, people like yourself and that gentleman, they get lost in the shuffle, and for whatever reasons, you know, they choose not to focus on those type of sentences, which you know, like if you stole the Snickers bar or things like that, and like, as a taxpayer, I wouldn't want my tax dollars, you know, going to, you know, housing somebody stealing a Snickers bar. You know, does stealing a Snickers bar, does that warrant a 25 2 year sentence? I don't think so.
Yes. No. No. See, well, that goes back to how you said, like, where I said, sorry, about the language. See, when the California three strikes law was first implemented back in 1994, it was intended originally for rapists and murderers. I mean, for rapists and child molesters. That's what the three strikes law's original intent was. But after that year, when California developed their tough on crime model, it changed where you were supposed to be convicted of two separate violent felonies in order for your third to be considered a three strikes and you're out. So you had to commit two separate prison terms. And then again, as I said, with the laws that coincided with three strikes, the language contradicts itself, because you're having them express the discretion to, okay, do this and do that, and then this is no, well, you can't do this or do that. But what you're referring to as the case of the guy that stole the slice of pizza, that is a true case. And there is a lot of dudes in here who got strucken out for stealing diapers for their child. You know what I mean? They were down on tough times. You know what I mean? Stealing formula for their kids. This guy stole a slice of pizza. And that was Proposition 47. Now, when Proposition 47, he qualified for that because those types of crimes were what they considered under California law wobbler crimes. And what a wobbler crime entails is a crime that could be considered felony or misdemeanor depending on the circumstances. That's why it's considered a wobbler crime. Now, when Proposition 47 was implemented, my current offense of assault with a deadly weapon, which is a Penal Code 245, and my corporal injury on a spouse, which is the domestic violence charge, those were still considered violent or serious felonies. So the language, I didn't qualify under the language of that revisal. And so you're right. That's why you're saying, like, okay, well, how come they're focusing on only these guys when they're all labeled the same thing, three strikers. But you're not implementing it to where it affects a whole. It only affecting a percentage of those people under the same guidelines.
Yeah, that's That's that like I said, I mean, it leaves you scratching your head of why they choose ones over others. I mean, me as a person, I wouldn't want the non-violent offenders. The guy that stole the Snickers bar, the guy that stole the slice of pizza, not that dude that
Right.
that that murder somebody. But I don't know, like
Right.
I
Yeah.
I don't know how they
Yeah.
determine this stuff, and what their thought goes into this. And I'm pretty sure they pay these people that come up with these things, these think tanks, with large sums of money to come up with this stuff. But I don't know.
No, you're right. Like I mean, us in here, we talk about how they would rather give multiple time convicted child molesters more opportunities to get out than us. Because they consider that.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And it's like you said, I mean,
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
All right, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but
before you let
it went silent there for a moment. If you want, give me a call back.
Oh.
Because I know we just got that announcement, so we could go ahead and we're not rushing, and we could go ahead and give our proper shout outs and
for sure.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right. Cool. Perfect. All right. So after this one here, this would be it. We're not gonna run a full call on this one, but I need to start getting ready for my day ahead. Gotta go wake up my daughter. She's a late sleeper, and gotta start getting her ready to go be hitting that preschool. And she definitely enjoys that, going to school every day. And the time that she's always talking about is when they go out to recess, and she does get to play. We don't have any other kids in the household, her age. Pretty much she's growing up as an only child.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Robert.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were talking about the individuals that that they were focusing on, to give them breaks and whatnot, your audio went silent, so we didn't catch some of what you were saying.
Okay, yeah. So this was back on Proposition 47, where you do have individuals, like I said, who stole a slice of pizza and got struck out, given 25 years to life. There's cases of people who were stealing formula or diapers for their child because they were down on hard times and were struck out. There's cases of individuals who failed to register when they were paroled, and these registers could be as far as, registering as an arsonist or a sex offender or a gang member or things of that nature, and they were struck out. And in the courts, a lot of them were upheld because of the confusing language that's written specifically for the three strikes law. Now, in 2014, I believe, 2013, 2014, California came out with a proposition bill that was labeled Prop 47, and what their intent was to be able to resentence all these individuals who were sentenced under California's three strikes, but under crimes that are considered wobbler crimes. Now, a wobbler crime in California is defined as a crime that can be labeled misdemeanor or felony, depending on the specific circumstances. But so those individuals were able to be resentenced, like the guy who got struck out for stealing a slice of pizza. the individual who was still in diapers or formula for their child. They qualified for them. Now, for individuals like myself, who at that time our certain crimes were still considered violent or serious, so we were disqualified from that specific law, even though it was intended for three strikers. But because of your specific crime, it disqualified you. You know, so it's like today, we're like, wow, like, and you're starting to hear it a lot more that it's being broached, like, oh, California needs to fix their sentencing schemes. California needs to revise or get rid of the three strikes law because there's a lot of people in there for crimes of nonviolence that are doing life sentences for something that's not even considered a violent felony. And, you know, and like I was saying as well, you know, I mean, you have these lawmakers and these politicians justifying that, oh, people convicted of pedophiles are it's a sickness, it's a mental illness. So they're giving them opportunities to get out there, whereas they're denying us who are in here for no such thing as pedophilia, but they want to keep us in here. And it just goes back to what you say. Well, damn, like, you know what I mean? You're making these laws where you're letting convicted murderers, convicted rapists, and all that get out of prison, but you don't want to let the guy out who stole a slice of pizza. Like, come on now, you gotta balance the scales a little bit better, you know? Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've come across people who deserve to be in prison, but I don't believe in the theory that you lock people up and throw away the key. You know what I mean? If they rehabilitate themselves and they go to show that they're worthy of change and it's documented that their change and their progression is worthy of being free again, you should offer them that type of opportunity than just like, nah, because he's convicted of these types of crimes, he's automatically excluded.
Let me ask you. I want to take you back to your trial. How long did your trial take?
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
How long did it take your trial, you know, to run its course? And did you have any support? Was anybody in on your corner over there, you know, showing support in the courtroom?
Of course, my mom. My mom was in the gallery in every opportunity that she had. You know, my mom's religious circle and her faith. You know what I mean? They would show their appearance sometimes. You know what I mean? Certain family members when they could. You know. So yeah, and then my trial lasted maybe like about 6 weeks. Yeah, like 4 to 6 weeks.
And how early would they wake you up to go to court?
Man, shit. I would have to get up at 2:00 in the morning, and you know what I mean. I was afforded the opportunity to shower, freshen up, eat breakfast real quick, and then I would go sit in the holding tanks until about 6 in the morning, and then I would arrive at the courthouse in downtown San Diego about 7. And then I would wait till like about 8:30, between 8:30 and 9 for the court session to begin. So I would dress out. You know what I mean? I had my personal clothes that I was able to wear during the course of the trial. And then I wouldn't get back to the county jail that I was housed in until maybe 8:00 at night. And this was Monday through Friday for 6 weeks.
Yeah, they usually, you know, try to wear you down. And during this time, are they can they make any plea can they offer you any deals or any plea agreements during this time in the middle of your trial, if they wanted to?
Yes, I mean, yes. There is the ability to offer a plea agreement, but since mine was a 3 strikes case, it's stipulated under law that they can't offer plea agreements in a 3 strikes case. that is automatically now. Again, the max term that I was looking at was consecutive life sentences. So they were trying to give me 3 consecutive life sentences, but they try to offer me, oh well, we'll give you a straight 25 to life, and I'm like, how is that a plea agreement? How is that a bargain when you're going to give me life regardless? Life is life back then. You didn't see it as a certain amount of years. Life meant life. You were never going to get out of prison, you know. So yeah, that was a deal that they tried to offer.
And so you get found guilty. What's running through your mind at that moment, or when you get back into the what is it, the holding tanks or your dorm? Like, do you recall?
Well, I mean, honestly, during the course of the trial, I honestly felt that I believed that I had it in the bag, that I was going to be found not guilty, and only for the fact that we were really pursuing of trying to impeach my child's mom, because she lied in a lot of her statements about the account of what went down, what didn't go down, and then that she even admitted to me that, like, she wanted me out the picture because I was going to fight her in court for custody of my daughter. So we had her saying, like, the reason why she's pursuing this case is to keep me away from my daughter, you know, and that a lot of her allegations as to what actually occurred and didn't occur wasn't adding up, because she was fluctuating between what was stated in the original account to what was stated later on. So, but that didn't work in my favor. But even though we weren't able to fully get an impeachment of her testimony, I felt that should have swayed the jury in a sense to be able to, like, find me either a hung jury or a total not guilty, in order for them to be able to offer me a plea agreement of something that may have not been of life sentence.
Man, yeah, I mean, definitely a tough pill to swallow. And when they handed down that sentence, did you really think that you were gonna do a life sentence at that time? Could you believe it? Was it surreal?
Oh, of course, James. In 2009, life meant life. There was no opportunities at that time. The suitability with Governor Brown, he was only granting maybe 10% of lifers to be granted parole. So of course, yeah, I thought I was never going to get out of prison, and that's why my negative course of conduct continued even in the early stages of this journey that I'm on, where I just didn't give a fuck. I was going to do what I did. You know what I mean? I was still participating in the bullshit with the politics, and you know what I mean, doing what I wanted to do, because like I said, you know, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. It was just, you know what I mean, it was a sad reality that more than likely you're going to die in prison.
So what would have been your outlook, you know, back then, picking up another case or another life sentence on top of with the one that you had been handed down?
Well, fuck, I mean, I was fortunate because there was opportunity. I did catch in-house offenses where I was given a DA referral to pick up more time. There was instances where I was in possession, or I was caught possession of weapons, assaulting another inmate, and you know what I mean, having him retain outside hospitalization. Again, where, you know what I mean, those were DA referrals where I could have been prosecuted in court again and picked up possibly other life sentences or more time already on a life sentence. But fortunately, I guess me already having a life sentence dissuaded the district attorney from pursuing a case.
So so when you assault somebody in prison and they go to an outside hospital, that's looked differently opposed to them being treated inside the facility itself.
Yes, because more than likely, if you're sending a victim out to get require hospitalization on the streets, it's either from a stabbing, slicing them with a razor or a sharp object, or breaking a bone, such as like breaking their jaw, or anything that requires would be considered a serious bodily injury.
And then, in theory, since you were already charged with, since you already had technically 3 strikes already, if they chose to prosecute you on a new case, they could also do another. They could strike you out again for whatever reason, right?
Yes.
Even like if you had a cell phone and
Yes.
they referred that over to the district attorney, they could strike you off for having a cell phone, a knife, drugs, or pretty much anything. Anything that would.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been considered a consecutive life sentence.
So in your case, it would not even matter. So I mean, if they're gonna give you a life sentence, it might as well be something that would be viewed upon, as at least worth it, opposed to just having a cell phone or some dope or something. Yeah. So I can definitely see how a lot of individuals like yourself that ended up switching up their mindset and saying, screw it, it doesn't matter what I do, if I catch a new case, the outcome is going to be the same. So might as well, go out with a bang.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
It creates that I don't give a fuck mindset. Yeah.
All right, then. So she already she notified us already. So if you want to go ahead and give your shout outs, and then we'll go ahead and end this call for today.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity. And like I say, everybody that tapped in and, took the time to listen to me share my story, I appreciate you. I hope I was able to enlighten you on a different perspective. And shout out to moms tapping in. I love you, Mom. Thank you for your support. And
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Everybody that tapped in, again, I hope you check in the next time I'm on. And, I'd appreciate any positive feedback, even criticism if necessary, And it just helps me get better and do better. So, again, thank you.
All right. So, likewise. So I also want to go and, thank everybody that's tuning in. Really appreciate you guys. Today we had Gumbastic 562, LBC K15, Cynthia M, Biddy K coming in from the UK, and then can't forget about let me see, ICEMAN, Fish Slayer SoCal, Righteous Monkey, Chronicles, Richard from Colorado, Marlene, I haven't seen her in a few days, and countless others. If I didn't mention you, my apologies, but you're definitely not forgotten. And like I say around here, life's like a candle. Once you blow it, it lights out. And with that, I'm out.